Hello, my name's Rob and welcome to Swift Slots. Now, this video is a bit of a self-indulgence for myself, to be honest. Now, over the last year or so, I've bought this small collection of street supercars. I really like these cars. They're beautiful cars. They're not really track cars. They're not really road cars. They're just something in between, but I love them. I think they're absolutely cool, and they're all about 20 years old, and they're all basically brand new. I have run them, but they're all basically brand new. So in this video, I thought it'd be really fun to see just how fast they all would go head to head, being as that they're all basically in the same sort of class. They're all three different manufacturers from all about the same era of manufacture. So I thought it'd be really cool to take them apart, have a look at them, see how they're built from that particular time period with the mechanics and the finish and the fit and so on and so forth. And then we'll stick them on Crow Valley and see just how fast they will go. Now, I have no idea how this is going to go with these four cars. I just think it'd be really fun to watch them going absolutely flat out around Crow Valley. Now, to be fair, I have done a 15 minutes of fame video on this particular McLaren, but we only tickled it around Ricard Valley. We haven't actually given it full gun around Crow Valley. So we'll see it again for those of you that haven't seen, but then we'll take it up a notch and we'll take it on Crow Valley with the other three. So with that said, let's get on the table and let's have a look at these cars one by one, put them on a turntable, put them on Crow Valley, and then give them a good old thrash and see which one wins, just for fun. Okay, so let's start with the Lamborghini Gallardo. And this particular car is part number 50448, and it's a licensed product from Lamborghini. So what have we got inside the box? Well, we've got an extremely pretty street road going silver Lamborghini. Absolutely beautiful car. It looks really smart. And the base is just a single twist and she comes off just like that. And there it is. So this particular car was built in approximately 2008 by Ninko. As we know, Ninko is no longer in production anymore, so these cars are only going up in value, and they're still surprisingly expensive. Now, this particular model is quite nicely modelled. It's got a very nice dashboard. We've got windscreen wipers, some door mirrors, we got a little fuel filler there, and some nice vents there, a lovely rear wing, and some really nice detail on the back end. But these grills, they're just printed on, and then the exhaust pipes, they're actually part of the chassis, I think, but they are definitely separate with a lot of nice relief on them. And the wheels are fairly standard, and we got a little bit of float in the front axle. I don't think there's any bearings in there. And there's the underside, and as you can see, it's an angle winder. Now, the biggest downside for me with this one, these rear vents are just printed on, so it's kind of showing its age really from a manufacturing point of view. So it's almost there, but not quite. And as you can see, we've actually got a civilian driver in the cockpit. So this is a proper road-going car. So there we are. And it does appear to have a full detail in there, although it does seem to have a roll bar in there. So I'm not sure whether that's a road-going thing or... Although, no, I think actually there's a silver canister inside the cockpit there. So maybe this has got a racing interior, but they actually fitted a standard civilian driver in there. So we got some nice vents here as well, and pretty plain on the front again, just with these, there's no grills here, that's just printed on. Nice Lamborghini badge on the bonnet. Overall, a very pretty car and well put together, just a straight up sort of mid 2000s Ninko angle winder. So let's whip the body off and we'll see what's going on the underside. And as we can see, not very much. However, we don't have a full depth interior, which is really good because we don't need all that extra weight. It's just there for the ride. You can't see inside it. All the feet detail and so on that you get on some cars, all wasted really from a performance point of view. So that's not a bad interior, and it doesn't weigh too much either. I'm quite happy with how limited the interior is, but it's still got all the detail on the top. So a nice balance between detail and weight reduction, I think, on the body. So here we have the chassis, and as I thought, we don't actually even have slots. We've got a clip-in axle, so there's a little bit of axle float on there. The wires are rubbing that axle just a little bit. I don't know if that's really going to do a lot, possibly not. The guide is very nice. It's not particularly deep, but it does center really well. There's a little bit of side float in the front wheels, not too bad. And then we've got the angle winder motor, this nice Ninco NC5, I think it is, or 6, NC6. And we've got some nice angle winder gears there. Now, you can actually get replacement gears from NSR for this exact setup for these Ninco cars. And I do actually have 2 sets in stock that I need to be putting into 2 of my cars. One of those cars is going to have a full repaint and a full workover, and the other one is something that I bought from a few years ago that I really love. But I do actually have 2 sets of gears, so at some point in my forthcoming videos I will actually change these gears, these plastic gears, for some aluminium ones and brass ones later on in a different car. Not this car, but later on. And we've also got some brass bearings in there as well, which is really nice to see. From a car from 2008, having some brass bearings in there is a really nice addition to performance. The chassis has got a little bit of flex to it, and it's possibly going to be a little bit rattly on that front axle. So having driven this car now a little bit before this video, I can tell you this car runs very flat and very fast. It's a little bit loose in the back end, but it's very predictable. But it's still a really quick car, but it's not quite as refined in the way that it feels as some of the other modern racing cars, but it's still very fast. So I think this one will go reasonably well. So with that said, let's pop her on the turntable, see what she looks like going around, and then we'll whack her on Crow Valley and see if what I think she runs like actually comes to pass. There you are, a sub 50-second car. I didn't think that it would do that, to be honest with you. A low 49, that's incredibly good for this particular car. When it's going around the track, it's a bit rattly, it's a little bit crude, but it does definitely get the job done, and it's a really cool car to drive. So next up, we got my Ninco McLaren F1 GTR. Now, strictly speaking, this is possibly a track car, because the driver's got a helmet and there's a sponsor on the side. But I make the rules because this is my race. So we're going to call it a street car because it's more street car than race car in my opinion. And the part number for this car is 501717. It's a McLaren F1 GTR tag Helga, or I can't pronounce it, but nevertheless. And this particular car was built in approximately 2001 by Ninco. Obviously, as we know, Ninco's no longer made, so these are fetching a decent amount of money on eBay at the moment, especially when they're fully cased like this one. And as you can see, this one is in nice condition case wise. So here is the actual car. It's absolutely a beautiful car. I have got a Revo slot version of this, and it's really nice as well. It's nice to have one that's all built up for you, and this car is almost as nice, if not as nice, as the Revo slot version, at least from a looks department. And I think these cars look absolutely fantastic. They've got just the right level of aggression and sleekness and compact sort of look to them. I think they look really smart, and that dashboard looks really nice. I love this grey as well. So as you can see, we've got a really nice windscreen wiper there. We've got wing mirrors. We've got the covers for the lights as well. We've got individual indicators on there, and we've actually got some grilling It's recessed on that front bumper there. Again, they're not actually metal grills, but the grills are there. I think they might be tampo print. No, I think there are slits in the chassis, but we'll see when we take the body off. Got a little bit of a vent there. Again, it's not a separate part, I don't think. We'll find out again in a minute, but it's all there as well. Lovely color-coded wheels, really cool. A nice little rear spoiler there, and a nice plastic back end with the lights, and the exhaust pipes aren't actually separate. They're actually part of the molding, but they all look pretty good. And the grilling isn't a metal in the actual louvers down like they are on the Revo slot. They're just kind of cast in, but typical build from around about 2001. I say we got the interior there as well, but no roll cage in this particular car, which is interesting. So again, it's a little bit more road car than track car, but we do have a helmet on the driver, so I suppose that could be classed as a track car, but never mind. And again, single twist and the chassis comes off, and there is the underside. Now this is an inline car, so that's going to throw up some handling differences to the other cars, and the guide centers really well, and the tires are quite grippy, but they are grooved. Now I have obviously run this car as well, so I can tell you that it's actually very fast and stable. But the trouble is, it is a little bit back-endy. The back end's a little bit loose. It could do with a little bit of extra weight, to be honest. But it is a very refined drive, and it's easy to drive. But it is on the slow side. This motor doesn't really have a huge amount to get up and go. But sometimes that can be good on the track. Sometimes if you're not going too fast, you can't get yourself into trouble, and it allows the chassis to catch up with itself, and you can go into corners a little bit easier sometimes if the car isn't too fast. But we do have the floppy axle on the front, so that kind of allows the chassis to pitch and dive a little bit, which isn't going to help that back end, because if the chassis can sort of tweak into the corner under braking, it can upset the chassis. You're obviously taking away from the flat grip of the tyre, running on the edge, and that can make it skip. And that's probably part of the reason why this car is a little bit back endy, because there's not a lot of distance there between the front and back wheels. The triangle is quite short on it. I say with that axle tipping away, it will probably make the back end a little bit unstable. So I say these tyres aren't necessarily the grippiest, and they're also grooved as well, which obviously you're losing contact on the track as well. So yeah, so this car is very, very nice. I'm not sure how well it will do compared to the others, because like I say, that motor is a little bit lacking, but we'll find out in a moment. So let's whip the chassis off and let's have a look under the body. And there we are. Now again, we've got almost no interior, which is absolutely fantastic for performance. We don't need to see his feet. Can't see them through the top, so we don't need to have them on the bottom. So again, this body is very light, so that's a really good racing chassis, or body, sorry. And yeah, I approve of that. That's a really good balance between interior and exterior, so to speak. So the chassis, and here we have it. So there's not a lot to see here. It's very similar to the other Ninko, so we've got quite a floppy front axle. The wires aren't touching this axle in this particular car. The guide centers quite nicely. It's a very shallow guide though, but that doesn't seem to help this. It doesn't seem to hinder this car. It doesn't tend to want to jump out the groove in the slot. It seems reasonably planted, so I don't think that one's hurting us too much. Here is the motor, the NC1. As I said to you, I find this motor a little bit slow. It lacks, put it that way. And then we've got two brass bearings, which again, from the other Gallardo that we had, and plastic gears, and a brass pinion. So pretty standard really, apart from the brass bearings. So with that said, let's pop her on the turntable and see what she'll do. well, there you are. A high 53. I was hoping for a bit more, but with this motor, I'm not that surprised. It does really need a faster motor in this car. A little bit of weight, stiffen up the front axle and maybe some grippier rear tyres, and then should be really, really good. But, you know, it's still a very nice car. A high 53 is still a reasonable time around Crow Valley. It's not so much the time, it's the way this car handles. It's a little bit tippy in the corners. You need to nurse it around those corners, otherwise she just tips up and then unslots and it's all over. But, you know, a little bit of extra work on her and I think she'd be really cool. But I think she's a really pretty car and I don't hold it against her whatsoever. Needs a faster motor, yes, but looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, so next is my MB slot Pagani Zonda F 2005. And this car came to me as a loose car, so this is not the original box. Now, this particular car was manufactured in about 2008 by MB Slot. Now, MB Slot no longer make slot cars. We think they may just now produce a few little spares over in Europe under a different brand. So no one's quite sure where MB Slot went to, but they certainly no longer make whole slot cars. They didn't make many. I think they made about 2, and this particular one was the painted version, and then did a white kit version of this as well. Now you can still find these occasionally on eBay from time to time, but I got this particular car as an empty roller. Now about a year ago I was doing a rally competition in my local club, and one of the stages was a car park. And on the top of the car park there was a row of cars, and this particular car was in that row and looking a little bit sorry for itself and a little bit forlorn, and I absolutely loved it. So after the event I asked the owner of the track, could I buy this car? And he said I could, and I didn't pay a lot for it, which is really nice. And I went home that evening and spent an extremely enjoyable 2 hours going through my parts bin, getting this car back up to scratch. And I actually fitted these rear view mirrors. They're actually from a Scalextric Mini. That's what I had, but I think that they work really, really well. I think the original ones are up on stalks, but I don't mind. I think they look really good. I also found that windscreen wiper as well from another kit, so I fitted that. And also this rear wing. It's not an original wing, and I found that in my parts box. I have no idea what that's from. It was from something or another. And so I popped him on, and that looked really good, I thought. And there's a couple of bits of touch up that I had to do on the paintwork, and then I give it a bit of a polish up, and she's come up absolutely fantastic. Then I had to do some surgery to the underside because it had nothing. It didn't have a guide, didn't have a motor, didn't have any gears, didn't have anything whatsoever, just a roller. So as you can see, the body is absolutely fantastic. And a little bit of engine detail there. We do actually have a driver's helmet in there, but no roll cage. So the interior there is just very shallow. And we've got some really nice detail on the bonnet, really nice lights, and the front end there. And there's no separate grills on this. They're all just sort of impregnated into the plastic, but they all look very good. And you can actually see the lights there, individual lenses. And these cars are just beautiful looking cars. It actually feels like a proper racing car. Now obviously, like I say, I've raced all these cars. I know roughly what they feel like. And this one is very fast, stable and predictable. And it handles like a proper racing car. It really is very, very good. So I think this one will do quite well. It may actually have the unfair advantage on the track, being that it does feel so much more like a racing car than the other cars themselves. But we'll just whip off this body now and we'll have a look underneath the chassis. And there we go. So there's the interior, completely flat, exactly what we want from a racing car. And again, this body weighs very, very little, and that's exactly what we want, exactly what we expect from a racing car. So that's probably part of the reason why it goes so well, because that body really doesn't weigh very much. Doesn't half look nice though, doesn't it? So here is the chassis. Now, as you can see, I think this car definitely has the unfair advantage. We've actually got proper suspension on this car, and that really does help in my experience. We got brass bearings just snuck in underneath those plastic holders there. We've got a very nice crown gear, aluminium center boss, brass pinion gear, long cam motor. Now I don't know what this motor is. I found it in my spares box. I whacked it in there. It suits the car. It drives quite nicely. We've also got sprung pod on the front as well. We've also got a really solid front axle, but it's very free to spin, as you can see. So that really does help the performance as well. It's all adjustable, but I haven't actually adjusted it up at all. Now this guide is a guide that I fitted. It doesn't center all that well. It's free to turn, but it doesn't center particularly brilliantly, but it's not stiff. So I didn't spend a huge amount of time trying to get it absolutely perfect, but it is actually the guide that I prefer to use, which is the Slotting Plus guide. So no real surprises there, but there we are. And I haven't used any particularly special braid on it. I think it's just 0.3 braid, so no huge advantages on the braid. But there we are. So a bit of a racing car chassis probably has the unfair advantage. But with that said, let's pop her on the turntable and see what she'll do around Crow Valley. Wow, a mid 47, that is really fast. Now, I've not run this car in anger around Crow Valley. I've driven it around Crow Valley to get a feel for what she goes like, but I've never driven her in anger, and I never thought that she would do a 47.3. That is absolutely phenomenal, and it does feel every bit the race car that it does look. Now, it's a pity that MB slot aren't still around, because they're a kind of a one-hit wonder, and I'm not even sure the hit was a hit, but it's a hit for me. I mean, this car runs so incredibly well. Why they didn't make more of an impression in the slot car market and sort of hang around for a bit longer than one car, I have no idea. They really came into the market with a stunning looking model, and it just runs so incredibly well. But you know, it is what it is. I suppose it's consigned to the history books. It's a beautiful car nevertheless, and I'm very happy to have it in my collection. And last but definitely not least, we have my Scalextric MP4-12C. Now, these particular cars were manufactured around about 2012 by Scalextric, and as you can see, I have a beautiful example right here. Now, this isn't the original box because I bought this car loose on eBay, but nevertheless, it's still a lovely looking thing. So here we are. Now, I bought this car because I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself one day, and I really wanted a nice, cheap but beautiful looking slot car. So I went onto eBay, I went shopping, and I found this. I didn't pay a huge amount for it. I think it was about £23, and I don't begrudge it. And now it's actually in my hand. She's absolutely beautiful. And as I say, we've actually seen this on the channel before. But for those of you that haven't seen, we're going to see it again because it's such a nice car. Now, we do actually have a driver's helmet in there, but there's no roll cage, so I guess it's still a street car. Now, this is actually the dark horse, or the underdog should I say, of this collection, because it is a Scalextric. They're not known for performance. They don't make performance cars. Scalextric actually make toys, as they keep saying to their public. We make toys, we don't make racing cars. So this car really does have its work cut out to keep up with the Ninko and the MB slot, but I still think she'll go really well. Now, these rear tyres are incredibly grippy, so this car was made from what I call the sort of golden era of Scalextric, where they really did get the quality just right. The actual finish and fit of the body is superb, the paintwork is superb, They run beautifully. There's lots of lovely detail. You've got good quality tyres, a good quality chassis, and the whole thing feels like a really solid, nice quality car, like Carrera. So, but this is such a nice looking car. So let's whip the body off and let's just see what lives under the body. And there we are. I completely forgot these particular cars have got 2 extra screws in the middle of the chassis. There's 6 screws holding this car on together. Now, as you can see, we've got that rather ridiculous full depth interior with the driver's legs and feet. Completely pointless, but like you say, the Scalextrics don't make racing cars. They make scale toy cars, and I guess that's fine. But the body doesn't weigh too much. It's not too bad, but it is the heaviest car out of all 4 of these cars, so that it does literally play against it when you're racing this particular car. Now, to be fair, this car is actually very smooth, but it's way too grippy, but it is quite predictable. But that grip really hampers this car in the corners. You can't get it to slide all that easily, but it does look beautiful, and it is an absolute pleasure to drive. She really does look beautiful driving around the track, and of course she's the only one with a lit chassis. So, you know, it does look a little bit nicer going around the track. But this is the sort of car that you just want to look at when it goes around the track. Not so much want to drive hard, but it does still drive remarkably well. So I think it's still got a little bit of a shout. I don't think it's going to let us down that badly. So here is the chassis. As you can see, it's classic, typical Scalextrics of the era. We've got a fairly solid front axle, so that keeps the back end in check. We've got the light boards either end. We've got a sidewinder motor, plastic gears, plastic spur, plastic bearings, plastic everything, but incredibly sticky rear tyres. And like I say, this car does run incredibly smoothly. So we'll see what she goes like around Crow Valley right now. So there we are, a high 51. That is actually really, really good for a standard Scalextrics car with nothing done to it whatsoever. I honestly thought this car would be slower than that. 51.9 seconds is a really good time, generally speaking, and quite an exceptional time for a completely standard Scalextrics car, not known for its performance. And as I thought, these tyres are just a bit too grippy. Who'd have thought you'd have said that a standard Scalextrics tyre was just too grippy on a non-magnet track on MDF? That's quite an amazing statement to make. But these tyres just are too grippy for Crow Valley to make those tight turns, because you really need to slide the back end around on those tight bends, and this car just can't quite do it. It's beautiful through the wiggle waggles, beautiful around the long swoopers, but when it comes to those really tight bends that you've got to flick the back end out, these tyres are just too grippy. But she is a beautiful car, and she really has the feel and sound of a quality car when she's going around the track. But a 51.9, I'll take it every day of the week. That's a really good time. And here we have our 4 fantastic cars after a good thrash around Crow Valley. And as you can see, the Zonda came in with a fantastic mid 47, the Lamborghini came in with a very good low 49, the Scalextrics came in with a very respectable high 51, and unfortunately our poor Ninko GTR came in with a high 53 hampered by that motor. So there we are. What an awesome little race. And as we could see, the Zonda was by far the fastest car, and to be honest, really did feel like a proper racing car on the track. It had all the feel and feedback and sense of speed that a proper racing car had. Well, the Scalextric held its own, but a little bit too much grip, and that really hurt it, but still performed rather very well, considering it's actually more of a scale car. It's narrower, it's taller, it's heavier. Ran really well. It was just hampered by just too much grip. And then we had the Ninko. That was, to be honest, a little bit disappointing, but it is a very smooth, nice driving car, and it is a lovely car to look at anyway, even if it's not quite the fastest. I think with a fresh motor in this car, it would really turn a corner. Probably a little bit of weight and some fresh tyres, as they could probably all do with. Not the Scalextric, of course. But yeah, a nice new motor in the Ninko here. I think that would just make her run really, really well. And then we have the other Ninko, the Lamborghini. She ran really, really well. A bit rattly, but really, really fast, and really turned the sort of time that I thought it probably would do. So I'm very happy with that one. It's a fairly average car, but still really, really good. Could do with a little bit of a tinkle around the edges maybe, but it's perfectly good enough. But overall, I'm really happy with all these cars. They all went pretty well. Some went extremely well, and some went nicely. So there we are. So that's my 4 street cars that I've collected over the last year. I'm very happy with them, and I enjoyed running them, and I hope that you enjoyed watching them as well. So business will resume as normal in the next video, where I've got a really cool builds to come from Pendle Slot Racing, so I hope you'll stick around for that. And if you enjoyed this sort of content, maybe you'll subscribe, and if you could hit the little bell button, that would be awesome. So until the next time, thank you very much.